Now time for our Sunday Spotlight, this week shining brightly on Dr. Ben Carson, one of the top pediatric neurosurgeons in the country, who made quite a splash with his recent appearance at the National Prayer Breakfast, where with President Obama at his side, he had some choice words on political correctness and even the flat tax. Listen.
We've reached a point where people are afraid to actually talk about what they want to say because somebody might be offended. What about our taxation system? When I pick up my Bible, you know what I see? I see the fairest individual in the universe, God, and he's given us a system. It's called tithe. Now, we don't necessarily have to do it 10%, but it's principle.
We're seeing the Wall Street Journal had a lead editorial saying, Ben Carson for president. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Typically, prayer breakfast speeches don't get this kind of attention. You've got more than 2 million views on YouTube of this speech. What do you make of this reaction?
Well, I make of it the fact that before I gave that talk, I prayed and asked God to give me wisdom, what to say, what would resonate, what would be important. And, you know, I don't think it was particularly political.
Some people do.
I know they do. But to be able to express an opinion about something that is problematic. You know, I'm a physician. I like to diagnose things. And, you know, I've diagnosed some pretty significant issues that I think a lot of people resonate with. And, you know, I've just been kind of overwhelmed by the response, particularly a lot of older Americans who say they had given up on America. And, you know, what we really need is to be able to tone down all the rhetoric and be able to discuss things in a reasonable and rational way and come to conclusions rather than one side or the other side winning. If we can do that, I think there's real power in that. In
your book, which came out more than a year ago, it was down quite a ways on Amazon. Now it's number 3 on the Amazon bestseller list. But I've got to tell you, I have never heard of somebody talking about the flat tax at a prayer breakfast. That was a pretty interesting...
Well, you know, I prefer to refer to it as the proportional tax. Yeah. Because, of course, you know, it comes from the concept of tithing. You know, if you make $1 gazillion, you pay $1 gazillion. If you make very little, you pay very little. But everybody contributes.
What do you make of President Obama as a leader?
I think he's a very talented politician.
That sounds like faint praise. You obviously disagree with him. I mean, that was clear in your...
There are a number of policies that I don't believe lead to the growth of our nation and don't lead to the elevation of our nation. And, you know, what I would like to do, I don't want to sit here and say all of his policies are bad. But what I would like to see more often in this nation is an open and intelligent conversation, not people just casting aspersions at each other. I mean, it's unbelievable to me, the way people act like third graders. And if somebody doesn't agree with them, they're this and they're that, and you know, and it comes from both sides, and it's so infantile. And I don't know how we're ever going to make any progress.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. Before you go, though, I got to ask you. So, the Wall Street Journal, Ben Carson for president. You're retiring as a surgeon this summer. What do you make of it? Are you going to get into politics?
It's not my intention to do that, but as I always say in every part of my life, I'll leave that up to God.
That sounded far from ruling it out. Thank you very much, Dr. Ben Carson. Appreciate your time. You can read an excerpt from Ben Carson's book, America the Beautiful, at our website, abcnews.com/thisweek.